It's Friday, July 3rd, 2026. Happy Independence Day weekend as we celebrate America's semi-quincentennial, coming less than a week after another important centennial celebrating an American treasure, the 100th birthday of Mel Brooks.
It's good to be the king.
Welcome to episode 209 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Bueller. In this edition of the Postcast, busy times for our first responders, a no-bid contract, and more at City Council. Whatever happened to the Grand Street Shoreline restroom? A council hopeful ends his candidacy before it really starts. The big parade. Congratulations to 3 local museums and 1 local golfer, plus a couple of hidden gems for you. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story, Alameda residents concerned about a beach takeover scheduled for Saturday the 27th were relieved to find out that a coordinated multi-agency law enforcement effort prevented the planned unlawful gathering at Crown Memorial Beach. Tensions were heightened after an AI-generated flyer advertising "Yiked Up at the Beach" began circulating on Instagram, advertising a live DJ, drinks, and games. Concerns were heightened by the June 11th takeover, which resulted in the shooting of 2 people in the 300 block of Park Street. APD deployed a unified response plan in close collaboration with East Bay Regional Park District Police and the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. In a press release issued on Sunday the 28th, Alameda Police Chief Nishant Joshi said, quote, "Yesterday's outcome reflects the strong partnerships we built with our regional law enforcement partners. By working together and planning ahead, we ensured that everyone could have a safe, peaceful experience at South Shore Beach and South Shore Shopping Center." End quote. Full story and pictures in Adam Gillett and Maurice Ramirez's article at alamedapost.com/news. Earlier in the week, on Thursday the 25th, APD officers responded to the 1200 block of Park Street to investigate a reported vehicle burglary. An ATM replenishment technician had been making a scheduled service stop when their vehicle was burglarized and nearly $15,000 in cash was stolen. APD officers quickly identified the suspect vehicle and notified neighboring law enforcement agencies. A short time later, San Francisco PD located the vehicle and detained the sole occupant. When APD officers responded to the scene, a search of the vehicle led to the recovery of the cash as well as narcotics. The suspect was arrested for vehicle burglary and narcotics offenses. Full story at alamedapost.com/news. APD also involved in a major incident on Sunday night at 9:46 when Alameda Fire responded to a report of a vehicle in the water at the Grand Street boat launch. The initial response consisted of 2 engines, 1 ladder truck, a rescue company, a rescue boat, 1 medic unit, battalion chief, and the Alameda Care Team. An additional engine, fireboat, and 2 medic units were also requested to respond. In a Facebook post, AFD noted, quote, "The first arriving unit confirmed that a vehicle was submerged approximately 15 feet deep and 100 feet from the shore. The AFD dive team initiated a dive operation and removed 1 victim from inside the vehicle. The adult male patient was then transported to Highland Hospital with life-threatening injuries." End quote. A secondary search of the vehicle and surrounding area was completed. No additional victims were found. The Alameda Police Department, Coast Guard, and Alameda County Sheriff's Department all provided assistance, with the Oakland Fire Department providing mutual aid station coverage. Story and pictures at alamedapost.com/news. While we're at the shoreline, let's return to the issue of the proposed surf pool. Back in episode 154 in May of 25, we first reported on the idea of a surf park to be constructed near the Encinal boat ramp. In episode 190 in February, questions were raised in an article by Irene Dieter when it was revealed that other entities had inquired about the possibility of buying land from the city for the same purpose rather than leasing it. Well, that part of the story has again caught Irene's attention. The city continues its effort to allow Neptune Beach Surf Club development partners to lease and build a surf pool on public parkland at Alameda Point. The price and terms under negotiation with Neptune will be discussed by City Council in closed session on July 7th. The agenda item caught the attention of another surf pool developer, Surflock, which has been expressing interest in purchasing commercial land at Alameda Point to build the surf pool and potentially a hotel, the interest expressed since May of 25. Yet city staff has focused on leasing the parkland to Neptune. On July 1st, Thomas Lochtefeld, the CEO of Surflock, sent a letter to the council asking, quote, "why a project of this scale and public significance appears to be advancing through negotiations with a single predetermined developer rather than through an open competitive solicitation," end quote. He noted that Surflock would welcome the opportunity to compete to build the surf pool on land it would purchase, not lease. Irene Dieter examines the situation at alamedapost.com/analysis. That won't be the only topic at the agenda at the next City Council meeting. On Tuesday the 7th, Council will consider placing a $300 million general obligation bond on the November 3rd ballot to help address the more than $800 million in unfunded infrastructure needs driven by aging public facilities, deferred maintenance, and increasing climate-related risks. If approved by two-thirds of the voters, the bond would be repaid through a dedicated property tax estimated at $49 per 100,000 of assessed value, generating roughly $19 million annually while the bond remains outstanding. The measure would not draw on the city's general fund, and bond proceeds could only be used for capital projects. To run the math, a home assessed at $1 million would be liable for $490 additional dollars on their tax bill for the life of the bond. General obligation bonds typically have a life of 30 years. Assuming a typical interest rate of 4.5%, the actual cost of that $300 million comes out to in excess of $550 million. Among the planned investments, seismic retrofits for 3 fire stations and construction of a new fire station on the West End, as well as relocation of the city's aging fleet maintenance facility. Local funding would also help Alameda compete for state and federal grants that often require matching funds. Also on the agenda, Council will consider placing a charter amendment on the November 3rd ballot that would amend the charter to allow transactions involving the sale of city property to be approved by resolution rather than by ordinance. That would eliminate the need for 2 council meetings and a 30-day waiting period. Additionally, Council will consider placing a charter amendment on the ballot that would eliminate the city's elected auditor and treasurer offices. Alameda is currently one of only 2 cities in Alameda County with an elected auditor and the only city with an elected treasurer. Council will also consider awarding a $32.36 million construction contract to Wickman Construction for the long-awaited City Aquatic Center, while approving a $5 million budget increase from the General Fund Reserve to cover higher-than-expected construction and project management costs, as well as considering amending the project management and design contracts to the tune of an additional $681,000. Full details, including ways you can make your voice heard, in Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. On the topic of increasing project costs, in early 2023, work was started on an upgraded restroom project at Grand Street and Shoreline Drive. The modular restroom was scheduled for delivery in April of that year. Expected cost to East Bay Regional Park District, $300,000. Then the project stopped. In October of 23, a report by Irene Dieter at alamedapost.com began to look into the multitude of reasons for the delay. Traffic plan errors and floodplain changes led to more delays and increasing costs. Irene has now revisited the story. In July of 24, the contractor received the Park District's revised architectural drawings and submitted them to the city. In late September of 24, the city responded there were more than 50 missing code compliance details. After corrections, the city finally issued a building permit in April of 25. 6 months later, a street encroachment permit for the crane needed to place the modular facility was issued. In November of 25, the contractor's representative noted that the manufacturer of the restroom had demanded $39,000 in interest and $9,600 in storage fees due to the building being in mothballs for 20 months. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Bottom line, that $300,000 project has now ballooned to almost $825,000 with no end in sight. Full story in Irene Dieter's article at alamedapost.com/features. So what happens when you're a long-term city employee who's worked with Social Services and Human Relations and Alameda Family Services, as well as Oakland's Park Department, but you've got an allegedly anonymous social media presence containing sexist, transphobic, homophobic, and other bigoted content? You get found out, and your campaign for city council is over before it starts. That's the story of Scott Means. The Post spoke with Means, and Adam Gillett has the full and admittedly unsettling details in his editorial at alamedapost.com/op-ed. Some quick hits. Full details on Saturday's big parade at alamedapost.com/features. Congratulations to the Pacific Pinball Museum, the USS Hornet, and the California Historical Radio Society for landing 3 of the top 10 spots on the San Francisco Chronicle's list of best museums in the Bay Area. And congratulations to Alameda golfer Kyler Stone for his victory at the 115th California Amateur Championship. As promised, a couple of hidden gems for you. Spritzer's Cafe on Central near Webster now offering Ethiopian food on the weekends. The beef tips are fantastic, but if you're vegan or gluten-free, I think you'll be even happier. Great selection of some tasty traditional Ethiopian dishes. Also, be on the lookout for Bangkok Rush Thai Kitchen. They were featured on NBC Bay Area's Today in the Bay. The coconut pancakes are on point. Find them on Facebook. Hope you can join me Sunday morning at 8 on KCSM HD2 or streaming from kcsm.org when my guest will be none other than Brees, the creator of our very own Two Birds from Alameda. Mark your calendars for Radio Day by the Bay, July 18th at California Historical Radio Society. Yours truly will be appearing in a presentation of the classic Thin Man radio show, The Case of the Goofy Groom. I'll be playing the groom. Production will take place in the Veterans Memorial Building. Details at californiahistoricalradio.org. Thanks to all of you who cast a vote for me as the Bay Area Audiocaster of the Year. Didn't make it to the top, but for a show here on the little island of Alameda, a top 10 finish is more than respectable. Find the Alameda Post on all the social media platforms, now including TikTok. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 210 of the Alameda Postcast.